Hello, so this will be a quick overview on how to work with the grunt boilerplate I've made. It's pretty basic, pretty simple, but in time I hope to add to it to make it more functional. Okay, so before we get started, let's just make sure that we'll be ready to use grunt. What I'm going to do first is create a folder for my new project. Okay, and I'm going to call this project demo. Okay, so there's my project demo on my desktop. So I'm in my terminal. I am going to go into that directory. As you can see, there's nothing there. First step is to verify that we have Node installed. Um, Simple way to do that is just to find out what the version is. So you could do node space -3 for version, and you see it there. And then we want to verify that the npm is installed and up to date. So we can do the same thing there, npm version, and then just to make sure, I'm gonna run npm update -g for global and install it. I'm sorry, update it. So let's do that. This takes a while. Not sure why, but it'll get through in a minute. Didn't do anything, so that means we are up to date on our npm package. The third and last thing we need to verify before we get started is to install the grunt CLI package. So I'm going to do npm install -g grunt CLI. And there we are. So now we have Node installed. We verified Node was installed. npm is up in to the latest version, and we've installed the grunt CLI command. At this point, we are ready to use grunt. So the next step is to download the boilerplate. Okay, so now we will get the files from my repo, which are here. I'm going to go ahead and use Git to grab them. If you're not comfortable or familiar with Git so far, you can just do the download zip file here and place it in your project's demo folder or whatever name you might have given your project. So I'm going to do with SSH, and I'm just going to clone it, and I'm going to do a dot for current directory. If I do not do that, it's going to create a subfolder, and I believe it will call it grunt dash boilerplate, just the same name as the repo itself, and place the content there. But I'm telling it to put it in its current directory. So let's do that. So there we go. One note I want to make is that sometimes such certain businesses and libraries will not allow you to run SSH in their environment. So if you want to do use it, you can still use HTTPS. So just make sure to click HTTPS and grab the link and do the git clone and paste the link, and everything else is the same. But just be aware that there are two ways to do it: SSH or HTTPS. I prefer SSH because that way I'm not prompted every time for my username and password when I want to make changes. Okay, so let's look at our project here. So really all we got were 3 files. I'm going to open this in Sublime Text so we can see it easier. Okay, so git ignore is, I'm on a Mac, so it automatically generates these files. this in file. So I'm just telling it, don't ever, don't include this in my repo. So it will ignore this file. If there are other files, particularly if you're on a Windows machine, um, that you do not want it to include in your repo, you can include it in this file. Okay, so the other file we have is a grunt file, which we will go over shortly, and the other one's the package.json file. Okay, so now that we've downloaded these files, we want to install all these plugins that will be used in our grunt file. Now, since we already have this package.json file, it's very simple to simply install those by running the command npm install. As long as I am in that directory where the package.json file, what it will do is it's going to look at this folder, this file, and go through these plugins and install them. So I'm going to just do npm install, and you can see here that it's going to begin to create a node packages folder. While this is going on, just a note I want to point out is that I believe with the current or latest npm version, it seems to put all of the dependencies for each of these plugins outside of these folders. On the older version, you would only see perhaps these folders in the node modules folder, and within that you would see all of their dependencies. But it looks like now everything is just on the root directory of the nodes module folder. Not a big deal, but just something to be aware of, because you might have seen older tutorials where you might only see folders such as these right here. Anyway, okay, it looks like, let's see, have we done? Okay, so we're done. So now we have all our node modules installed in our project, and we can run our grunt file. But before that, just want to point out quickly what each of these will be doing. Grunt obviously is grunt. The clean plugin simply allows us to delete folders and files. So that one's pretty simple. The connect I really like. It allows us to start up a server for us, so we can view our website. Copy simply allows us to copy from one place to another, folders, directories, whatever. The image min plugin will optimize our images. There are different options that you can use, obviously, just like with the majority of these plugins, where you can specify the quality and a few other things. I left this as default for now. JSN will allow us to lint our JavaScript files. Watch is really handy and really cool. Watch in combination with the server is going to allow us to modify files and then view those changes automatically live in the browser without having to do a refresh. I've really grown to like that. It saves a lot of time having to refresh, and I will show you how that works. That is really cool. The other one is the responsive images. This will allow us to create the different sized images for our responsive images. So we're not always loading either a small one or a big one. We can pick which ones and how many. And this allows us to automatically generate those copies of the images. The last one here, load grunt task, just makes it a lot easier for us to generate our grunt file. So let's get started with the grunt file. Okay, so grunt file. So let me collapse these here. Well, here's a basic grunt file structure. You have this function here that you pass grunt, and within that you have the grunt init config, and this is where all the plugins will be, and it's just an object all different plugins where you set all the options and settings for each particular one, and we'll go through each in a minute. And the other the other thing you'll see is that here are the tasks you will generate or can generate. This allows us to do certain tasks only as we wish. For example, the default, so if I just type in grunt on the command line, it's going to run these two tasks, the connect app and watch. If I do the publish, what it's going to do is going to clean, it's going to run the clean dist target. It's going to validate my JavaScript. It's going to copy, and it's going to optimize my images, and then it's going to fire up a server for this directory, and we'll go through that in a minute. Okay, so let's start from the top to the bottom. Just a quick note also, in the comments here I just put a link to each of these plugins so you can easily look at the options and explanations, documentations for it. So this load grunt task, basically here I have the page right here. So what this allows us to do is that instead of having to load every task individually as we add them, one after the other, the list can get pretty long the bigger your grunt file gets. And sometimes personally I forget to add in there and I wonder why it is that it's not working anymore. So the better way to do that is that if we did install this load grunt task, all you do is you include this line in your grunt file up here before your init config, and what it'll do is it will automatically load all the packages that it's going to require to run. So that's what that allows us to do. It just makes it easier for us to work with the in the grunt file. It makes it a bit more compact. Okay, so let's begin and go through each of the tasks here. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Before we go through the grunt file, there are a few other steps we need to go through to get our project going. So Git does not allow you to add empty directories. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add some directories that we will need for our project. And one of them is called app. The other one is called distribution. And the third one I'm going to call images underscore source. Okay, so this is a common pattern that I've seen people do, and basically what we'll be doing is we will be working in the app directory. In here we're going to put all of our files related to our project, and then once we are confident that we're done, that everything's good, what we're going to do is we're going to move these files into the distribution folder. And in the process, what we'll do is we can do things like optimize our images before we push them up to the server. We can obviously run the JavaScript linter to make sure everything's good, and then we can also do things like minimize, concatenate, JavaScript, CSS files that we're not doing here now, but down the line, that's something that we'll add to it. So basically what you end up in this folder is your website, but being optimized every which way we thought of doing. So, okay, so let's go back here. And let's talk about responsive images. By the way, if you go to this directory, I'm sorry, to this web's page, it's a very good explanation of how to set up the configuration for each of the tasks you want to run. Okay, so the first task we have here is the responsive images. Again, this is going to allow us to create different sized images for anything we want on our website. So I actually have, I believe they call these targets. So this is one target, and basically it's just different options for different files. So in this dev target, what I'm doing is I have these options, quality 70, uh, and so forth. Sizes, it's an array with an object of the different sizes of images I will be creating. So in this case, I'm going to be creating a 300, 600, and 1200 pixel image from the original one. This upscale false and this create no scale image will prevent us from upscaling a small image to a larger size. So if I start with an 800 pixel image, it will create the 600, it will create the 300, but it will not create the 1200. Okay, and the files that these options will apply to are any GIF, JPEG, PNG in this images._src folder. So what it will do, it will change to this working directory, and then it will look for all of these types of images, excluding project star.jpg. This is a wildcard for anything that starts with a project. The bang means to exclude, and that's because I have another target down here, which I call small, because these will be smaller images than these, and I only want 2. So this is just an example. And what I've done here is I'm just creating 2 images, one that's 300, one that's 600. And what I'm, again, I'm going to go into the images_src folder, and I'm only going to work on anything that starts with project, start dot, GIF, JPEG, or PNG. In my case, they're all JPEG, so I'm only going to look for files that begin with a project that are JPEGs in this folder, and I'm going to generate these 2 sizes. Okay, so to run this, to test this out, what I'm going to do is I am going to get some images here. So where did I move these? Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so these are just some images from my first project, and you can see this one I believe is about 1200, and these are all 600 wide. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these, and I'm going to place these in this image source. Okay, so let me explain why I decided to put this image src folder outside of the app. Because ultimately we're going to have an images folder here, but what we're doing is that because this is what we're starting with and not necessarily going to use, we're just going to make copies of the sizes we want. I put it outside this folder, and the output is going to be in the app/images, you can see here, folder. So the the output of this, or running this process, will create this folder with the images indicated. So let's go ahead and try that. Okay, so I am in my project demo. So all I can do is do grunt. And if I want to run just this task here, meaning both the dev and the small, actually, so this is a whole task right here, right? With these two targets, I can just give it the name of the task. So I can do grunt responsive images. Now I like to do the -v for bows because you get a lot more information as to what's going on when you run these commands. So now if I run this, what it should do is run this target followed by this target and just do the jobs that we indicated there. So let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so you can see here that it ran my responsive images task. On my first one, it tells me which files it worked on, and it tells me what options it worked on. And then here you can see that it resized that one image, because I only had one image that didn't start with project hero, and it resized that one, or I should say it made 3 copies, the 300, 600, and 1200. Now if you notice, it just did hero-300, hero-600, hero-1200. If I wanted to do something other than the numbers here, all I have to do is give it a name such as this, and then it will keep the original name, and then it will say dash small dash medium as opposed to dash 300 dash 600. Let's not do that for now. Actually, why not? Let's just run it. Okay, so let's look at the output. So it should have put, the first time we ran it, it gave me my hero with 300, 600, 1200, and every other project file name, it just created the two, the 300, 600, 300, 600 for each of those files, because that it used this configuration for those files, which is a 300, 600. Okay, so if I take off this name and I run it again, what it should do is I should see these project names with the small and medium names. So let's go ahead and run that again. Oops, you know what? It did the same thing because I didn't save it. So let's go ahead and save it and run it again. And there you go. You can see now that I have project medium, which is the same as 600, project small, which is the same as 300. So yeah, flexibility there. Okay, so that's that portion, and this is great when you have tons of images on your site that you want to create multiple copies of. Okay, so that was the responsive images. Okay, JS hint, basically, well, it's going to allow us to lint our JavaScript. So right now, let's see, we have well, we don't have anything just yet because what we need to do is pull down or clone the project 2 files, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. So let's see, where am I? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and delete the images we just generated because I want to clone my repo into this directory, and the directory needs to be empty in order for me to do that. Okay, so git clone, and that particular directory is this one here, so sh copy and paste it. And see, I want to clone it into my app folder. Okay, so now here are the files for the project. JavaScript folder, images folder, the two images, and the CSS folder. Now, here's something that if you're also using Git that I'm not completely familiar with just yet, so to be on the safe side, I'm going to delete one of them. So my project demo is itself a repo, as you can tell by this .git folder. And what I did is, within its folder, I created another Git repo. I believe that's going to cause problems, so to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and delete this .git folder, which means it's no longer a repo. And that's okay because I'm not going to collaborate or try to push any of these files back into the Udacity repo I just cloned. So now these files will be part of just my project's demo. Repo. Oops. So you can see here that it added the app folder and obviously the modules. Okay. Okay, so now let's get back to this. Alright, so we went over the responsive images. Let's run it again just because now that we have our other content for the project, let's just run it so we have those files there. Okay, so we have the original two files that were already in there, and the hero, and then the project ones. And you notice that I left the names in there, so it gave me the medium and small naming rather than the numbering 300-600. Okay. Okay, and so we can run any of these tasks by giving it the name that we want to run. So JS hint. So JS hint, these are some options that I've given it. The project indicated that we should use the defaults. I personally don't know what the defaults are, but for now, what you could do is you can comment those out if you're not sure which ones to use. And that way it's gonna use whatever the defaults are for this plugin according to this page, which you can take a look. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and comment those out for now and save it. Okay, so JS hint, it's for this target. I'm just saying hint these files, so anything on the app.js directory or subdirectory. So anything under here, if I had a subdirectory with more JavaScript, it would also do those. That's what the ** means. That's globbing. You can do a Google search for that. Pretty handy to know, things like how to do things such as this. Okay, so let's go ahead and run the JS hint for these files. Okay, So if I do grunt JS hint, if I want to do just this target, meaning user, and not worry about the grunt file for now, what I can do is I can do colon user, and let's just do it verbosely. Okay, so you can see here that there's a bunch of errors that it found. Well, 51 errors in 3 files. Okay, so it's complaining about jQuery library. I am not gonna bother with that particular library and errors. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and exclude it from my JS hint. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell it, oops, I'm gonna tell it not jQuery.js. And actually, because grunt is here, I have to give it the relative path. So I gotta say app / js / jQuery. Okay, so now if I save that, and I run it again, there you go. So now it's not complaining. My other 2 files were fine. So this is a quick way to check your JavaScript. So that's basically how it works. Again, you can look at more details by looking at the plugin and also the docs for the options on how you can use this. Okay, so that one I believe was pretty straightforward. Okay, image min, this will optimize our images. Like I said earlier, I'm just doing the default options. So all I'm doing is giving it the files, which I'm basically telling it in my app images, grab all the images with these extensions and optimize them, and then move them to my distribution dist/images folder. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that manually again. Grunt, sorry, what was the name of it? Image min. False again. Okay, so what that'll do is should optimize my images in here and place them in an images folder here. And you can see here, these are the files it found, and these were probably already optimized prior to me copying them over, since I used them in my first project. So that's why you don't see a lot of gain, but you'd be surprised how well this works. It really be saving you a lot of sizes there. But anyway, so here it is, there's my images, and here they are. Here are all the images optimized according to my settings. Okay, that's cool. Okay, what's next? Clean. Clean is just, again, it gets used when I publish the final the final website. Here, clean this. So basically, I'm telling clean out or delete everything in the distributions directory, because we're gonna copy everything over back again. So clean is just simply allows us to delete files and folders. Copy, same deal. It just allows us to copy directories and files. So in this case, when this case for this dist target, what I'm telling it to do is, go into change to working directory app, and in there, basically just telling it copy all of my JS folder. Let me bring this up here. So here I'm telling it copy this folder copy any HTML, whether it be here or in subdirectories, um, with the HTML extension, and copy all of my CSS files here. I do not tell it to do anything with my images because, again, if you remember, the images here were already copied over here by the other task, the optimization task, the image min. Okay, so that's what copy does, and I'll show you how most of these are combined to make the final publish of the distribution website. Okay, so now somewhat the fun part here. This is actually pretty cool. Okay, so watch. Watch is what it does is basically you tell it what files to keep an eye on, or which directories, which folder types, or to keep an eye on. And whenever it sees a change, whether it gets added or removed, we're telling it to, in this case, just reload the website. So anytime there's a HTML, a JavaScript, a CSS, or an image change, we're gonna reload the website. Okay, and the other one I created here was for the images. Watch. So basically, we already ran manually. We already ran the responsive images, right? But let's say, you know, tomorrow you want to add another 5 images into that directory. So what I've done is that you don't want to have to keep manually running that task. So what I said is, anytime you see files in this folder, I want you to run this task and basically run responsive images. Okay, so this is what the watch does. Connect will start up a server for us. So for example, I can do grunt connect, and I can say app. And the reason I want to say app is because it's gonna look for files in my app directory. Here's the base. On my final, when we do our final website distribution, then I have another server to start up for those files, just to verify that everything is good to go. Okay, so I can run it manually again, so I can do this. And I'm sorry, I believe I have another. Okay, I'm gonna pause this for a minute to figure out my issue, because it didn't start up the server as I expected. I believe I had another server already running, so let me check for that and we'll come right back. Okay, so not sure what was going on earlier. Believe it or not, it took me quite a while to figure out. Well, I didn't quite figure out, but just started to work once again without making much changes. But regardless, let's just hope it works for the remainder of this demo. Okay, so we were talking about the Connect server. So let me just show you, let me show it to you in action. Okay, so these tasks that we've registered. So right now I have the default, responsive image, validate.js, and publish. So basically what this means is that whenever I do just grunt on the command line from the project's root directory, it's going to run these tasks. The connect app, so it's going to start up a server and then it start up the watch. Because I didn't specify a target, it will watch for the live reload and for the responsive images. If I just wanted to run the responsive images, um, there's two ways. I can do it because I did register this task. I can just say grunt responsive img because that is the name I gave it here, or I could just give it the name of the tasks in here, which was just image min. I'm sorry, not image min, responsive images, like so. Um, the only, if there's one task running, I don't know that you need to create a task for down here, register a task. The only exception I can think of is possibly, well, like this case, I'm telling it what task to run in respect to this watch task. I'm not sure that I can just put responsive images task here. I guess it's worth to try and see if it works. But regardless, let me show you this one here. So what this is going to do is going to start up the server, and it's also going to keep an eye on those files for any changes. So if I do a grunt -v, again, I just like to see verbose. It gives a bit more information on it. And I start it. What you see is it tells me, it ran the Connect app and then it ran the watch, and with a bit more details here. And see, it's telling me that it's watching all these files for changes. So let me show you. So here's the window that opened up in the browser. So this is our web server in the app directory. So let me just put it side to side so I can show you. So because I told it to watch for any index changes or file changes or CSS or JS, if I go into the app folder and let's just say I change hello world to hello world, nice to meet you, I'm gonna save this. Keep an eye on here. All I'm doing is gonna save this, and you'll see this dot go away when I save it. Saved it, and you see automatically reloaded the server with the update. That is pretty cool without having to do the reload every time or refresh. Same thing for CSS. Let's just say body, background color, and just say red. And once I save this, there you go, automatically turn it red without having to do any refresh. This has been extremely useful for me in my projects, just because I don't have to keep refreshing. I like to use two monitors, so I tend to put this window in a different monitor, and I have my Sublime text in a different window, so having to move my mouse up and down before when I had to refresh was somewhat of a pain. This makes it so much easier. So that's what watch does. Okay, so in the watch file, if you remember, we also had we were also watching let me find it here, the image source folder, and then we told it to run this task. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is uh, actually I did it earlier before my demo, so I'm gonna delete it here. It ran the task, but it didn't do anything because it was a delete. I didn't add a file, but let me add one now. So let's see, let's add this file and let's place it in, oops, in here. So there's a file, and there you go. Without me having to run the grunt task, the watch utility just noticed that it was changed, and there you go. It created my 300, 600, 1200. And it didn't do anything with the other ones because they were already there. And if you look in the app images, you will see them here. 300, 600, 1200. Okay, so the last thing. So we've pretty much done everything. We've gone through all the tasks. So let's say we're ready to publish our website. All we need to do is run this task right here, publish. And with this task, what we'll be doing is we're going to be cleaning up this directory. It has stuff in there because I did run this prior offline, so I should have deleted those. But anyway, what it's going to do, it's going to delete that folder, because we told it right here. It's going to check my JavaScript one last time. It's going to copy all these files that are configured in this particular target. And if you remember, that was this one here where we're copying the JavaScript, all HTML files, and all CSS files into the distribution directory. We're going to optimize our images. And then we're going to fire up a server with the files in the distribution folder so we can kind of browse through it, you know, just check that everything's good to go. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to kill, it's this wait job, I'm going to kill it. Let's just clear this. And let's do grunt publish. And again, I like the V. So here we go. There you go. See, it just that was quick because there aren't very many files. But what you'll see now is in our directory, here. So here's our whole website where the optimized images. Oh, and here's the images it optimized. These were probably already optimized because I copied them from my project 1 folder. But here's the one that was. So you can see the savings here on my image that I just threw in there the second time around. You can see how much is saved. 57%, 81%. These not so much because they were already optimized. But if you haven't optimized your images, you should see big gains here. And I think that's pretty much it. I know this was a bit long-winded. Sorry about that. Maybe I'll do another very short, maybe a 5-minute overview of it, just pointing out what the process is, because it really isn't that difficult. Again, we just verify that node is installed, npm's up to date, load the grunt CLI utility, grab the files from my grunt boilerplate, which is basically the packages.json in the grunt file, and pull down your project that you might be working on, and then make any adjustments that you may need for the paths, and create any files. Anyway, that is all. Hope this was helpful, and I guess I will post this somewhere, and I'll give you guys a link for it. All right, thanks a lot.